Hi, this is Shoshana Shea, and in this video I wanted to share a little bit about one of the books that we've brought out. If you have a look at my Amazon Central, you'll see that I have a book that I wrote myself on occupational therapy. I have the start of a range of notebooks, workbooks, coloring in books are coming soon. We have a number of other books on the go, and there's quite a fun, really interesting book that my mother wrote, which I've been involved in doing the editing, sourcing who to outsource the book cover to. I'm quite involved behind the scenes at doing some marketing, and I thought I'd share a little bit more about this book. The book is called A Very Brave Girl. You can see it over here. This is the hard copy that I have in my hand over here. I think it's quite a sweet little book. And we're exploring doing some Amazon ads for the book. And the really interesting part about doing Amazon ad campaigns, I'm not going to be able to teach you anything about it. Firstly, because I'm too new to doing Amazon ads. And secondly, because there are other people who teach really well, who are far more expert in this area of creating your own books, being an indie author. But what I would like to share is that if you do set up an ad campaign, being able to search or to have a look at the search terms that are used gives quite a lot of information as to what potential buyers could be looking for. It gives information and insight and ideas that could be used in blog posts and in videos. And there are a couple of search terms that have come up that I thought would be quite nice to respond to. The first one is somebody looking for a book with a girl who loves to sing, a children's book about a girl who loves to sing. And one thing I would like to say is that the main character in this book does love to sing. It's mentioned a little bit in passing that in the previous school she was in, she was part of a choir. And the detail I wanted to share now is that this book is the start of a series. We're in the process of finalizing the formatting of the next book in the series and then going on to the cover design. So in the next couple of weeks, keep a lookout. We're hoping to bring out the next in the series. In the second book, there's a little bit of the experience of this main character called Lizzie, who tries out for the school choir in the new school, and it tells a little bit about her experience. So this is a child who does love to sing. This particular child in this book has found herself in a situation where she's starting to go to a boarding school. The author, R.A. Kahn, who happens to be my mother, did go to boarding school, so she's well experienced as to what it's like to be in a boarding school. She went from the age of 12 years old. The main character in this book is a little bit younger than that. She's 9 years old. And in the second book, she requests to go back to the same boarding school. And there's reasons as to why, because she really loved the school. So two things I thought I'd share about is that this book does tell a little bit about what it's like to be to go to a boarding school. It shares about a child who loves to sing, and there's a lot more about this particular girl. So I thought that as a way to help parents or friends, somebody who's wanting to buy a gift perhaps for a child, this book is written for children ages 8 to 10, perhaps for 8 to 12. I quite enjoy it, and I'm a little bit older than 12 years old, so it could be for an older child also, or a teenager. But it's particularly written for the 8 to 10-year-old. And I thought I'd read for you the first paragraph or so that you can discover for yourself the style of writing and find out whether this is the kind of book that you're on the lookout for. It's written in a way to help to encourage children to read. Reading is important, and to read the more the better. We've printed it on a cream paper, which is, I felt, was easy on the eye. If you prefer it to be on white, let us know and we can look into printing it on white. Perhaps in addition that you could have the choice as to whether you want it as a cream or a white. So let's hear a little bit about what this book is about. And the first chapter is called How It All Began, which is a good introduction to a book. There's some interesting names that are used in this book. The main character is called Elizabeth Sinclair, and she's often called Lizzie. The reason as to why she's got her back, the back is facing on the book, is because, as you'll hear in the beginning of the story, she finds herself getting off a bus near this boarding school. She didn't know that it was a boarding school. And here she is at the gate contemplating whether to go in, what would happen if she went in. She wasn't invited, she wasn't expected, she didn't have an appointment to go to find out. Could she just walk in and what would happen? So there she is looking into the school that she's about to start her adventure. So let's hear a little bit from this book. Miss Marjorie Gawley made her way slowly up the path to her cottage in the grounds of the famous girls' school, of which she just happened to be the head teacher. It had been a very long day for her, and now it was almost dark. She had left her torch in her desk drawer, and her house was in complete darkness. Miriam Apple, her housekeeper, who was getting on in years, must have left early again, she thought. Well, no sense in hanging around when the work is done. But she had not remembered to turn on the porch light before leaving. It was cold out, and Marjorie could hardly wait to make herself a hot drink and to put her feet up once she got inside. Finding her key in her pocket, she let herself in and walked quickly in the direction of the kitchen. Switching on the light, she realized at once that she was not alone. A small girl was sitting at her kitchen table, her head resting on her hands. "Goodness, child, you startled me. What on earth are you doing here? Don't you know that this house is out of bounds?" The child lifted her head up slowly. She had fallen asleep. She stared at Miss Gawley. "But I'm not one of your girls, miss. The housekeeper let me in. She said her name was Miriam Apple, and that she had to go because her husband, Mr. Apple, is not well. She showed me the guest cloakroom, and then she said that I was to wait in here and not move. That must have been hours ago, because now I see that it is quite dark." "Well, who are you? If you're not one of ours, and where do you come from? I really think I ought to call your parents at once," said Miss Gawley, feeling quite perplexed. "You can't do that," replied the girl. "They don't want me anymore, and they have gone away somewhere. I was supposed to live here with my gran, but she had a fall this morning and had to go to hospital. I don't know what to do or where to go. When the ambulance driver would not let me go with her in the ambulance, Granny said to run next door, but there was nobody there, so I just got on a bus. When the bus driver said that his bus did not go to the hospital, I decided to get off at the very next stop, which happened to be outside this school. I could see girls walking about everywhere, so I opened the gate, the small one near the bus stop, and walked in." Well, if that sounds interesting to you, you'll have to purchase a copy of the book to find out what happens to this Lizzie, as she begins her life, her school life, completing the rest of the year in this particular school, in the boarding school. Find out what the boarding school is. It does have a name. Find out what Miss Gawley does next. There's lots of excitement. It's an action-packed book. It's really well written. I like the way it's written. Perhaps I'm biased. I like my mother's style of writing. But if you're interested in a book that's easy for a child to read, it's interesting. It has all sorts of different experiences that this girl goes through. You'll find out, as it says on the back of the book, that Lizzie's father is a soldier who's sent away to war. Lizzie's mother is a war journalist, and she goes with her husband, the soldier, to war. So this is a military family. You can find out what happens. And there's a section in the book where Lizzie has to be particularly brave because she discovers that her father goes missing. He's missing in action, and there are all sorts of events. You can find out what she does, how she controls her emotions, who she decides to tell, who she keeps quiet from. There are all sorts of things that you can find out in this book. And as I say, it's the first in a series. The next one is in the process of being formatted. Then we work on the cover of the book. So keep a lookout in the next few weeks for the next in the series. And we're starting to work on the next one too. So it should be at least 3 in the series. We're not yet sure how many there'll be, but if this book sounds of interest to you, put a note in the comments below. I'll leave a link to the book. It's available both in paperback and in a hard copy. As you can see in my hands, that this one is in hard copy. And if you're interested in further children's stories, my mother loves writing for children. She was a teacher for 25 years. That's one of her great interests. And if you have any other questions or any other comments, or you're interested in being an indie author or just supporting an indie author, let us know in the comments below. As I said in my previous video, I'm considering doing some giveaways on this channel, but I need a little bit more interaction. So please subscribe to the channel. Click that like button if you enjoyed it. Click the little bell to let you know when further videos come out. And as I said a minute or so ago, put a comment in the comments below. The more comments and the more interaction, the more I can be able to speed up and get towards doing a couple of giveaways. So if you're interested in winning perhaps one of these books, let us know in the comments and we'll let you know when the next giveaway starts to happen. Ciao for now and have a very blessed day.